Hey, how you doing? Hope you're keeping strong in there. Let's get going. Let's do a little bit of Jeremy Silman, then we'll get in and start doing our others puzzles. Because I want to get a little bit of this in before we get there. I promised you I think it was last night, I believe, that we were going to go over a game versus Jeremy Silman versus this player right here, and we'll get to it. It's really interesting. The gentleman actually wrote a excuse me, the gentleman actually wrote a book on the French defense that Jeremy Silman played. It's really cool. I'll show you, and you'll recognize it from the course that we actually went over. We did his entire book one time. It's in the the study section that we're going over right now. You type in business law, and you go to the studies, and you'll find it under one of the French defense areas that we did. Let's see, Jeremy Silman. There we go. Make sure I have that California spelled right. Perfect. I think we're good. Yep. Now all we gotta do is change the name here. Okay, Jeremy Silman, there we go. Beautiful. Enlarge the board. And let's get into it. So d4, g6, c4. So he's basically taking full control of d5. g7, and so the blacks actually, what they're doing is a modern defense, which is they're going to attack the center with pieces, and then at the right moment attack the center with pawns. The classic model would be to take the center by pawns and then develop your pieces behind your pawns, where the modern chess defense is that you're going to develop your pieces, and then your pawns will follow after your pieces are developed. So it's kind of a little difference in the setup that you're going to be doing. And so Jeremy Silman's a classical player, and he's developing his pawns. He says you can go modern if you want. Emmanuel Lasker also was one time he was, I think, in his 40s. He went into a tournament where, and I'll just give you a little story because I love these stories. He was going into a tournament where he's facing 20-year-olds and basically 18 and 20-year-olds, and they're like, "We're gonna beat you." They called him Grandpa basically, and so he's like, "What are you?" And so he went in there. Basically, he totally schooled everybody, won the tournament, and one of the commentator persons asked, "So Lasker, our manual. What are you do? What thing? Were you a modern? Were you a classic? Were you this? Were you that?" He says, "I was whatever I needed to be." So don't get into the set type of thing. Bruce Lee even talks about that. If you get into like a set type of stuff, and your opponent knows it better than you, then you're going to be in a big time trouble because they'll know the defenses and all that stuff. So just keep something that you feel comfortable, that will, even if it's just a slight advantage for your opponent, that you can enter a middle game that's good, go for it. So I just wanted to throw that a little bit of that fun history out there. Gotta always have a little fun in chess. See how Jeremy Silman has a beautiful center? That's wonderful. Knight c6, and you see how black is developing all of their pieces, and then they're going to attack at the right moment with e5. Bishop e3 is what was played. Oops, so here. Did I do that already? Perfect, okay. I have to do this. This is what they want to play. So there you go. Now e5 Kerplunk is on the board. We talked about this. This is what black wanted to do. Black now developed their pieces. And now it's the right time to Kerplunk down c5. d5, Jeremy Silman's like, nah, I don't want to trade off. I want to keep my pawns. And he's also, pretty soon, if black were to castle queenside, he has c5, b4, and a4 that could be played at the precise moment. And even potentially a queen move. So there's this in the wings, and then queen to a4 can actually be played too. You know, there's a lot that could happen in this. A lot. Now you see e7. Oops. That would lose a piece. Knight c7. There we go. And then c5 Kerplunk that we talked about. It's like boom, and then so black's like, if I don't get any counterplay, I'm gonna go down in flames, basically. So you're probably thinking, why doesn't black just take and then allow something like this? This is just horrible for white. Horrible, horrible. And you can, even if you wanted to, you can throw in this potential move, but I don't think it's as good because of bishop there. So I don't think a4 would be that strong. There is potential bishop b5 that could be played. Then bishop here, then queen comes in, and you could basically play here, 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 takes, knight takes, and then you could play either queen or bishop. I'm wondering if bishop takes isn't better to stop castling. So I'd probably not do, oops. Uh-oh, what did I miss? Oh, this is the line that we're doing. But I'm just saying though that you just have to, so we're, rather than black just sitting around and basically getting pummeled into submission, black's like, I only have one route, and it's an all-out berserking, which sometimes works if you're facing an opponent who's less strong as you, and they're very fearful of your rating. Sometimes these counter strikes will actually stop the opponent from doing what they want, and will help you to get what you want instead. So c takes d, so Jeremy Silman's going to be the first to take. C takes d. Now there's a beautiful spot for a queen to come out to a3 or a4. This is wonderful. And then you got your bishop, then you got your knight. You couldn't ask for a more wonderful position. You even have bishop to g4 if you wanted to. Just really nice, nice. Usually white is delighted to exchange the light squared bishops in this kind of KID. They call it the King's Indian defense structure. The text isn't as bad as it looks. Black's king is quite safe on f8, and his kingside pawn storm can become a very big threat for white. So it's not like black doesn't have anything that they can do. I'm just saying though, this would kind of put a little bit of fear in your opponent if you're black, because your opponents don't like to have any vulnerable points. And so, it's white to move here. Knight f3. Jeremy Silman's just developing. Very wise decision on his part there, because it's always good, even if the pawn were to take here, this knight would take back to a very strong position. And we also talked about a barricade, how this is a barricade for white. White's barricading black's e-pawn. Okay, so F4. This is a very important move for. It's important for Black to get in because Black doesn't want his king side to basically be annihilated, as we like to call it. So what he's trying to do is gain space on the king side, where therefore he can launch an attack. But remember, every single move has a drawback to it. Instead of the pawn chain being flexible, my friends, now the pawn chain is inflexible. You're thinking, what is Chess Cruncher TV talking about, or Business Law talking about? Well, now this pawn, when it was on F5, it had the ability to either take or push. Now, because it pushed, it's not flexible, which means it really can't do anything. Yes, it's attacking a bishop, but Jeremy Silman doesn't mind rerouting the bishop via here into b4, so it actually isn't too big of a problem. So bishop d2 is what was played, like we talked about. H6, and now a4. What the knight wants to implant itself potentially on b5, and that's a vital sensitive spot. So a4 there, and here I planned out a grand plan, he said. However, it was based on simple concept. I knew the moves to support these concepts would be found as the game went on, since I already deemed my position, whether it's true or not, strategically won. And he's actually right. This is a strategically won game. It's kind of, you're saying though, but doesn't Black have enough, counterplay and all this, and pawn storming and stuff? Yeah, but who actually has more space in the center? If you want to think about it, yes, when the center's locked, the wings are important, but who's more developed? Who's more cramped? Black is more cramped, if you notice, because his position's not flexible. He said, here's the plan. This is Jeremy Silman's grand plan. First, I mapped out a huge territorial gain on the queen side. So he's going to try to get a huge territorial gain on the queen side. Then I deprived my opponent of any real play on the king side, which eventually we can lock the position down with our pawns and there's no flexibility. Then I will target d6. So Jeremy Silman's eye is on d6 and stopping queenside play, or kingside play, and doing his own queenside play. Eventually, I effectively deprive any infiltration on the queen side, and most likely on. So basically, he will be able to infiltrate. I read that wrong. Jeremy Silman will be able to infiltrate on the queen side, whereas opponent will be locked up on the king side. And so let's watch the grand plan come into action. A5, so now the position is almost locked down. G4, knight G1, knight to F6. See, I know what you're thinking. What if you played here, right? That's not actually that's not bad idea, but the only problem is we can actually potentially lock every single thing down by just playing this. And if they take here, we can actually take, and then the position is basically deadlocked in, and then white has a free hand on the queen side because this pawn in no way is going to be able to break open. The knight has to move for a queen check, and not good. So Black wants to hold off on this move here right away. Doesn't want to push that. It's got to get his pieces more flexible. G to E2, knight G2, knight to G6, and then G3 Kerplunk. This is a very vital position. What this does is if black were to take, Jeremy Silman then could take back, h takes g3, and then this rook is attacking the pawn. Killing my opponent's counterplay on the king side, quite honestly, after playing g3, I felt that the point was already mine. He's right. The point is basically with proper play, white's going to come out winning. But remember, never. I know it sounds. I'm gonna say it 3 times. Never, never, never. Never. There you go. But it's actually 4. But I said it 3 times in a row. It's this. Get complacent, my friends. Don't get complacent whatever you do, because that's when you start losing. You may have a 1 position, but you still, like what Maurice Ashley says, Josh Waiskins, and Yazzer and Jennifer and all the commentators say, is until the game is won, you don't get that 1. You may have a 1 position, but by complacency, lose the point to a draw. It's happened many a times to players. So f3, knight c1. So now no more counterplay. It's all over. Knight c1, h5, queen to a4. Wait a second. Did the king actually move somewhere? Where did I miss the king move? Uh-oh. Drat. I missed a move. It's on move 9. C takes D, bishop check, king f8. I knew there was a sitch. Knight f3, g5, bishop d2. Hold on, what am I? Uh-oh. I did it again. There, here, and then h6, a4. Then we talked about the grand plan. g5, a5, g4, king g1, knight f6, knight g2, knight g6, g3, pawn push, knight c1, h5. Now we're on track, and here we go. Queen a4, h4, rook to f1. Getting off the H file and defending the potential vulnerable f7, f2. This needs to be promoted. Okay, here we go. Now if that takes, the white will take, and this is protected. H takes G, H takes G, bishop H6, knight B3, rook B8, oh, not G8, rook B8. Queen B4. Targeting D6, like what Jeremy Silman talked about. The idea is to target D6. Knight G7, or King G7. Bishop takes H, rook takes, knight D2. And the idea is to target via C4. The knight is heading to c4. At first glance, it will work with the queen against the d-pawn. However, the queen against d-pawn. However, there is an even more nefarious purpose to this knight's maneuver, which means nefarious, I believe, is a deeper into what the knight's move is. Like the c4 targeting here, topical. Nefarious is something even deeper. So if you're ever wondering what that word meant, it's a deeper meaning. So knight to h5 or h7 is there. Then the knight comes in to protect. Knight e3. My only weakness is f2. F2 is solidly defended. While black is going to have to worry about g4, f5, d6, and b7. And possibly on the C file, along the C file with a rook. And for a long time to come, black will be the one who's defending, not white. White's attacking. If you notice that black is reacting to all of white's threats, this is when a grand old plan is basically implemented. Jeremy Silman says is when there's nothing that your opponent can do but to react to your moves. Remember we talked yesterday about that it's this. You check for tactical problems. No tactical problems, go down the grand old plan. And this happens in a lot of games, even Grandmaster games. They'll get sucked into a, I like to think of it as a void or vortex, where your position, you start reacting and then you get into the reactive mode. Okay, knight h7, 93. Okay, queen h8, castle queenside, rook h2, king b1, queen h6. Hoping to gain some counterplay by sacrificing exchange with rook takes f2, rook takes f2, and queen takes e3. That's why white stepped off to b3, was that type of a tactical sacrifice. Rook d1. As usual. Patience is required. My pluses are not going away, so there is certainly no reason to rush. There's certainly no reason to rush. Knight to h7, depriving black. Desperately, black hopes to put more heat on f2 via h2, g5 into h3. So the idea is this maneuver, my friends. I put some more heat there. Unfortunately, the fact that most of his army is on the king side allows me to basically, he says, stomp the position, and he goes down in flames on the side of the board that he's the strongest on, which is queen to c4. A decisive infiltration along c7 is assumed. The grand plan has worked to perfection. The idea is to come in here. a6 to attack the bishop. Bishop to c7. We don't mind even if the bishop goes, we get a rook. Rook A8. Bishop C7. By getting rid of black's light squared bishop, black's weakness of B2 or B7 and F5 will or F4 will end up becoming a tremendous. So it'll be, the weakness will be B7, F5, and G4. All will fall into white's hand for a potential attack. So he takes here, queen takes, knight F3, queen takes B7, queen H8, knight, oh, yikes. What in the world? Oh, I gotcha. It would reset the computer reset. There we go. Check. King G6, and I believe knight to H4 check to block the rook's communication. King G7. My last move gained a bit of time on the clock. Now I'm ready to proceed with my with the mopping up of the position. That's what he said. So that's why that move there, King G, and rook to H1. It's ironic that black finally, basically the demise will occur on the very file that he coveted so highly. This very file here is the demise that they're going to be on. Rook takes. This is really weird. It's not allowing me to let me try something. I'll try coming here, and I'll try going to the study, and then we'll try getting right back in and see if anything changes. There we go. It must have had a slight glitch or something. Rook takes. Queen D8. Knight to F5 check. King G6. And then rook to H6. And he didn't need to see the knight takes. This is actually winning, so we'll put the win in here. White is to win here, so 1-0. So there we go. It doesn't need to see this here, because then the queen coming here, and then mate on H6. As you can see, a grand plan doesn't mean you have to calculate 30 moves ahead. In fact, often such a plan is almost a void of calculation. It's complete completely made up of concepts based on the correct reading of the imbalances and the pluses and minuses in each respectable each side's position. As I said earlier, grand plans are rare and usually one simple play move. We talked about, remember last night, the player who talked about, I can't get a plan, sometimes I feel like I'm in a fog. Jeremy Silman says 1 to 2 moves are optimum. That suits a particular position. Again, based on the specific imbalances and on the positional dynamic or static needs. Here's a case of dynamic tactics. We're gonna probably do this tomorrow. We'll work on some puzzles now. Let's see what's our time that we have. Perfect. We can work on, I believe, five puzzles. So let's get in on it. Let's do it. I believe that's the move after queen checks. See if here, check there. No, probably here. If you play here, king takes, check, and then we pick it up. Check here, if king takes, you win a rook. Okie dokie, let me see here. check, rook there. Okay, we're doing good here. Boy, this is kind of a little tricky because I'm trying to figure out if that works. Knight takes, bishop takes, queen takes, takes, king takes. Wasn't sure about that one. There we go. We'll stop here. Beautiful. Okay, I wanted to thank you for all logging on, participating. You know what? We have to always keep in forefront that, you know what, focus hard sometimes is only a small amount of time, but if you can hone that, it's like getting a lot of time. So you have to always keep in the forefront of your minds that, you know, it's not about how much time you do, it's about how effective the time is that you do study. And you just keep pushing forward. You don't look back. You look back for one purpose, like in Meet the Robinsons, to learn from it and then keep moving forward. And that's what Bruce Lee was talking about taking what you know and be able to apply it and be willing to do something with it. And always remember to treasure your victories and learn from your losses. And remember that mistakes do not define who you are, it's how you handle a mistake that defines who you are. And a very critical, important decision, like a grand old plan, at this present moment in time in the world, with everything that's going on, is the choice to receive the Lord Jesus. That's a grand old plan. And the whole thing is, you can know for a surety where you're going to go when everything is said and done. It doesn't matter when. You know what? I always think of tomorrow's not promised to any person. So it's better to make sure that you're right with the Lord Jesus now, so that you don't have fear of what could happen tomorrow. You can then, like what Meet the Robinson says, keep pushing forward and not have that one fear. And the whole idea about the Team Chess Cruncher motto is based on the grand old plan of hanging up your coats, hanging up your hats, sitting down and studying when most won't. Team Chess Cruncher does, and that makes all the difference. And as Wesley So says, serve the Lord Jesus, as I say, God bless. And I'll see you next time on Chess Cruncher TV. Have a blessed morning, afternoon, and evening. Lord willing, I'll be back on tomorrow, and we'll keep pushing forward. And remember what Hannibal Smith said. I like using the grand old plan type of setup, is that we talk about, you know what, even inside of a random position, sometimes there is a grand old plan. And when you find that, and your opponent has to go down that line that you already see, you've calculated it all, you made sure that it works, and you get to play it, you get to say, I love it when a plan comes together. Okay, 2 thumbs up, hoorah, be blessed. Keep pushing forward, keep getting better. Remember, it's not about how much time you use, it's about the effectiveness of the time. And I pray you receive the Lord as Lord and Savior of your life, and keep pushing forward. 2 thumbs up, hoorah, be blessed. I will see you tomorrow at Team Chess Cruncher. Bye bye.